Previously on Intervals in Music. And here's the rule. Fourths, fifths, and octaves, they are called perfect. Everything else is called major. So learn the rules, learn what the names of the notes are, and learn them on your fretboard. Welcome to Lesson 2 in our 6-lesson series, Intervals in Music. Last lesson, we covered major and perfect intervals. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to make adjustments to the major intervals to make them minor intervals. Minor intervals. So here is our major scale from our previous lesson. And in that lesson, we learned that we pull intervals, which is the distance between two notes. We pull intervals from this major scale, meaning that if I have two notes that are, say, a whole step apart, here is 2 whole steps, 1, 2, there you go. See, I just counted them for you. If I have two notes that are a whole step apart, I can call that distance between those notes a third. Okay, that's review. That's from last time. That's from the last lesson. But now I want to tell you that any of these intervals can be lowered by a half step, and we call that flatted. So let's just take this for example. Now we have a note here. We could have a note there, right, between 2 and 3. Well, what interval does that note get? Well, we could think of this 3 as moving down by a half step, and that would be called a flat 3. And that's the symbol for flat, by the way. I'll write it real big right here so you can see it. That is my flat symbol. And any interval that I put that in front of, that's now a flat interval. I could take my fifth here. So let's take the 5. Let's say that that's not where my note is. Let's say that the note that I'm measuring is right here. And what do you want to call that? Yeah, let's do that. Let's call it a flat 5. So any of these intervals, when lowered by a half step, can be said to be flat or flatted. Traditionally, we're not going to see the 4 and the 8 moved around, although mathematically it's possible, but we're not expecting to see that a lot. But the concept is, again, you can lower any of these by a half step. Okay, so now we have some names for those in-between intervals. What's the interval between a 2 and a 3? Well, we could call it a flat 3. Any interval can be flatted, but we're going to call some of these minor. Remember, let's pull the scale up again. Remember when we were learning major and perfect intervals, and Alex said, you know what? We're only allowed to call the 4 and the 5 and the 8. Only those are perfect intervals. Everything else is majored. Remember when I said that? Fourths, fifths, and octaves, they're perfect. Everything else is majored. See, I really did say that. When we're talking about flatted intervals, we have a more complete name or maybe a more formal name. What's this note here? Let's give this some context. Let's say we're on the note C, and then we have the note D, and then we have the note E. Okay, C major scale here. Pretty cool stuff. Let's say we lowered that E by half step because we're in the C minor scale. We have the E flat. Okay, so what interval is that from C to E? What interval is that? Well, you just learned, because I told you, that that's called a flatted third. We could call that a flat 3. We could call it that all day long. We can take any major interval, we can flatten it, and we can call it minor. So this flat 3 here, we got another name for it. That's right. We can call it a minor third. I can take my 6. I can say, move this down. Got a minor 6. Take my 7. Move my 7 down. Get a minor 7. Am I forgetting anybody? I am. Let's say we got a D flat all of a sudden. I don't know what a D flat's doing here, but let's just say we found a D flat there for some reason. We could call that a flat 2 or a, you go, fill in the blank, a, good. Hope you said minor 2, minor second. Good, that's it. And you know what? Just in case you don't believe me, I wrote it down because that makes it really super official. And on this sheet, I have my minor intervals shown for you. By the way, I got to interrupt myself here. All of the documents that you see in today's lesson are available for your free downloading privilege. Please take advantage of your free downloads and use these materials. Okay, so in red, I have my potential minor intervals. 2 made flat becomes a minor 2 or a flat 2. 3 brought down becomes a flat 3 or minor 3. 6 going down becomes a minor 6. Seven move down becomes a minor seven, or flat six, flat seven, right? These are all the same thing here. Let's go ahead and scroll down and get me out of the way here. And we can take a look at my little boxes here showing you the distances between notes. So if I have a half step, that distance, that's a minor second. Sure, you can call it a flat two. It's also a minor second. I've got a minor third here. That's a distance of a flatted third. Minor six is a flat six. I think you get the picture by now. Minor seven is that's right, a flat seven coming down from this red circle. That is the distance of a flat seven, people, or a minor seven. It's actually pretty easy. Major interval, when flatted, becomes a minor interval. Now I want to tell you what not to say. You can say minor second, minor third, minor sixth, minor seventh. What's missing from this sheet? There's no fifth. There's no fourth. There's no octave. I want to let you know that I don't want to see you running around town irresponsibly calling this interval here a minor fifth. You can say flat fifth. When in doubt, say flat, by the way. And we can bypass the whole minor rule there. So flat five, flat five, flat five all day long. I am totally good with that. Please don't say minor five or minor fifth. We just don't have that in music. It's just not what we call it. So we'll call it a flat five, or watch the next lesson from this series and we'll give you the answer to that question. For now, it's a flat five, not a minor five. Now I want to look at the major and minor scale side by side. The point of this lesson is not to study the minor scale or really to study the major scale, but it's to learn the intervals from it. If you need help on major or minor scales, check out one of my lessons on those scales. We see the 1 right here, 2 is right here. Those are in the same place relatively for each of those scales. Let's say this is an A major scale and an A minor scale, just to pick a note. We do see that the flat 3 and the flat 6 and the flat 7 make an appearance here on this minor scale. And so we can start to use these minor intervals that we're learning to distribute into scales that we might also learn or have already learned. Now, you'll notice there is not a minor second in the minor scale. So we don't just toss all the minor intervals at it. That would be crazy. But yes, we do see the 3, 6, and 7 on this scale. By the way, of course, everything I'm teaching you today, fretboard wise, is good on the bass, any number of strings. It's also good on the guitar as long as you're not crossing the B string. That's where things get weird. Before we wrap up today, I want to show you these interval patterns on the bass and guitar fretboard. Now we talked about the minor scale not having a minor second, and so I look at where the 1 is and I look at where the flat 2 is, and of course those are not in the same place, but we do see the 2 on the minor scale. Of course, this is a major second on the minor scale, right? Because the minor scale has the 1, the major second, the minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, minor 6, minor 7, come on, say it with me, perfect octave. Okay, but here we see that distance, what that looks like on the fretboard. It's just a half step. That's all it is. Minor second, super fancy way of impressing your friends at parties and saying, hey, how about that minor second? And it's actually just a half step. Here's what that looks like. I'm going to be on my A right here, 5th fret of my low E string. I'm on a 6-string bass today. Doesn't matter what kind of instrument you're playing. Starting on an A, that's my A. And if I go up by a half step, that's a minor second. Now, how can I find a minor second on my own? We take it from the major scale. I go, okay, 1, 2, 3. I went too far. I didn't even need to go to 3. I go 1 to 2, and I say, okay, that distance, that is a major second. All intervals from the major scale are major or perfect, right? So that's a major second. Any major interval, when lowered, becomes a minor interval. Lowered means this way, in this case. Let's look at the minor third. So the minor third compares perfectly or matches perfectly to the minor scale because we have that minor third in there. And so if I am on the A here, I go to my major second here. Well, the minor third is just a half step beyond that. If I want to do this on my own, I say, okay, well, I'm playing the major scale. How do I find my minor third? I go 1, 2, 3. This is the major scale, 1, 2, 3. That means this is a third. It means it's a major third, which means that if I lower it by a half step, I have a minor third. Let me go through that one more time. I have here an A scale, 1, 2, 3. That's an A major scale. The major scale is the scale we use to determine intervals. So 1, 2, 3, that makes that a major third. From here to here is a major third. You with me so far? Good. If I lower this note, lower being this way on the fretboard, I'm going to change my fingering because that's going to hurt if I try and do that. I have 1 and I have flat 3. I did have 1 and 3 there, but now I have 1 and flat 3 there. I show it here in a different way. I show it in this pattern because this is the pattern we use for the minor scale. However, of course, all of these intervals are going to have multiple patterns. I'm just going to show you the most common pattern for each one. So, minor third. There we have it. Okay, let's keep going, shall we? We only have 2 more to go. Minor 6 is kind of just like the minor third, which makes sense. If you remember the major scale, the major third and the major 6 are on the same place pattern-wise, but they're just on different strings. So major scale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Watch my first finger there. 1, 2, 3, first finger, 4, 5, 6. Still the first finger, still in this case the 4th fret in my A scale for number 3 and number 6 in the major scale. Well, we have the minor scale, same thing. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6. That's the same spot. That's just right there. It's 1 string above where the other one was. If you're the 6, you're going 1 string above from where the 3rd was. So 1, 2, flat 3, and then up here is your flat 6. And now we can get a funky little jam going on with the flat 3 and the flat 6. Minor 7 is a straight shot right across. So it's the perfect 4th would be here, 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's actually 1 string beyond that. So you can see that right here, right? You got eyes. You can see this, right? We are just 1 over. Here's my string in between, and I just sail right through that, use the same exact fret, and go right on to my minor 7th. These are your fretboard patterns. It's really important. We don't think so much in notes on the bass and on the guitar. We certainly can, and I want you to, but we think primarily in patterns. And when we're learning something, learning the pattern is usually the shape, if you want to call it the shape, is usually the easiest way to learn something. And of course, it's the same on the guitar fretboard. For you non-believers, I'm here to prove it to you. Here's my guitar fretboard. Here's my A, which is my 5th fret on my E string. And let's just listen to these intervals this time. What interval was that? What was that? What is that? That's a minor 2nd. Very good. Okay, what interval is this? That's a minor 3rd. 1 to 2 in the major scale, an additional half step to that minor 3rd. Minor 6, very good. And here's our last one. That's your minor 7. That's it. Those are your minor intervals. You now know your major, minor, and perfect intervals. Good for you. In the next lesson, we're going to clean up the rest of the intervals within 1 octave. There's just a few, 2 terms actually left for me to teach you regarding that. We're going to look at raising intervals and still lowering some others. If you like what you see here, if you like what I'm doing, if you like what I'm teaching you, please show your support. I really appreciate it. You can do that by subscribing to my channel and liking the video and making some comments. I'd love to hear from you, and I will answer any questions that you have to the best of my ability. My name's Alex. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.